Hi, everybody. My name is Butch Hancock, and besides playing music, I also do some art. And I was asked to tell you what my job is, and I've always wondered about that myself. I'm thinking perhaps translator might be that, but in order to translate, I've found that it's like I'm trying to translate Martian into Neptunian. So first I've got to learn Neptunian, and then I've got to learn Martian. So in order to do that, for example, this is the kind of this is sort of like one version of a language, and this is more of a byproduct thereof. And this would be, another version. So one of these is a translation, maybe not of the other, but maybe they're both translations. The more I look at it, yeah, I think so. But translating, you're translating something from some unknown into human languages of various sorts, visual languages or verbal, art installations or art deconstructions, whatever it takes. But so maybe those human languages are even more unknown than the unknown from which we translate.
This almost looks like a topograph.
It does. It's
it
like,
makes me think of
these are
your own version of what the Aboriginals do.
Yeah, it's kind of I kind of twist the end of the ballpoint pen off to keep it from being making
loose.
Blobs,
But you're pretty loose with it. With the handling of the pen.
Yeah, it's just you kind of, and then working on this, you just work very lightly, like so. And you've got, and then next thing you know, you've got a dark part and then a slightly shaded part.
So do you practice on here about how hard you're going to push on here?
No.
Because this is all ink right in here. But
yeah, I mean,
it's shading, but it's so pale.
Yeah, I just start, and usually in this little booklet anyway, I've been starting with I start with just a few lines. And then I've noticed that in this book I would usually do the background first, the sky, or maybe some of the rocks or plants or something, and it kind of pops the form out once you get the. I think there's even one that's kind of in progress like that somewhere here. That there you go. And you get the idea. I'm going to leave this one just like that because I think it's a finished piece right there.
And it's so different from all the rest, so it really stands out.
But the sky is thoroughly worked in there.
But it looks like a warrior.
Yeah, could be, or
like that's the helmet there.
Could be a house.
That's the neck.
Yeah.
Well, it's a house for you and a warrior for me.
Yeah.
Wow.
So a dark background behind makes the light thing in front pop out.
Yeah.
That's something one of my architecture professors told me. Always put a dark right next to a light. So you're always even on the lightest portions where there's more or less contrast, you still have a dark right next to the light.
And this is very tattoo, very tribal.
Oh yeah, these things come up there. If somebody figures out what those are, they can explain it to me.
Well, to me, it kind of has a little bit of a crossover between Celtic and
that modern tattoo art kind of.
Well, no, I was thinking of Eskimo art a little bit. I mean,
they started appearing in the very first drawings I did years ago, and
wow, look at
and continue.
God, it looks like a glare.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And you do this all with
the 19-cent Bic ballpoint. Yes, indeed. You see, Bic it says. Okay.
How much time do you spend sketching usually? And do you go through spurts?
Oh yeah, you know it's
Like when you're on the road, are you just on the road, or do you do any of this stuff in between?
sometimes when we're
beautiful.
touring,
It's
I
very
carry this book with
it
me.
has a folk. It makes me think
Yeah.
of the Eskimo art because it has a folklore appeal to it.
Yeah,
tribal
yeah.
and
Yeah, it's got a little more
storytelling.
primitive, some
symbolism.
kind of like symbols, but I don't know if they're even that.
They are, but they're in the deep crevices of your mind.
Yeah. The thing about these drawings are that I rarely thought of any kind of function for them. Now, and here you might start to get a little bit of that, you know, like a little boat
It's a
dock,
boat.
and obviously some kind of meeting hall or something, performance hall. but who knows what it might be, a hot dog stand for all I know. So, but basically, so these were just curvilinear and architectural and set in a landscape, and that's about it. Things that people can inhabit, perhaps, or at least visit.
What do people usually tell you that it makes them think of when they see your work? Because one of the most common things is M.C. Escher
Mm-hmm.
was one.
Yeah, the technique is very Escher-like, and yet the content is, you know, completely off the wall, sort of, you know, reminiscent of a few things. Probably Bosch is some of the early stuff, and
What was that?
Hieronymus Bosch, and the what?
Well, I think of that 1920s movie where they go to Shangri-La. What is that film?
Oh,
It was the land where you don't age or die.
oh yeah,
I can't think of the name of it.
Xanadu. No. That was what's his name's Hearst's place, wasn't it?
No. And
Yeah.
how many sketchbooks do you have with?
This is the only one that's exactly like this. The others were done in you know, little sketchbooks, and then I would take each sheet out separately. And this is the one that's just remain intact, you know.
It's beautiful. So, what is your plan with these pictures?
Well, to at some point publish a book of all this, and see, sometimes they would just start like that, just the basic shapes are within, you know,
Yeah,
1 or 2 seconds or less to make the, you know, just a
and
few
then
lines.
you just build on that.
Then I start to visualize whether it's form or space, you know. And usually, I have obviously there's some kind of a continuity, you know, among all of these, so I've got a little bit of an idea as I begin.
Do you have another book
But
that's different, real way different?
yeah, most of these drawings are very similar from the very first ones I got into back in the
Which when were these done?
early 70s.
Look at this.
This whole book was done between 2004 and 2007 or 8.
So,
Yeah.
wow,
It's like 100 little drawings, you know.
they're just fantastic. And there's one behind it you're starting.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just start them and then move on.
Yeah.
They just don't go anywhere.
Well, or you know, I just leave them to work on at some later time. You know.
This looks like it's a language.
Could be. That could be a.
Look at the people down
Could be
there.
a used non-furniture store.
I'm thinking diner. It kind of makes me think of a diner.
Well,
People sitting
obviously.
at the table there.
Yeah. Well, I don't know why I didn't see that. Yeah, maybe that one will turn into one too. I don't
That's
know.
a nice landscape.
There's about 4 or 5 more in here that I might
Wow.
possibly work on. You know.
So what is it you wrote here?
Let's see what it says. Quantum levels of agitation of mind and of stimulation quotients as quantum levels of silence and stillness. Do these things exist? Quantum by intensity or quantum by duration. You know, so everything, you know, we're always measuring. That's what life is measurement, contrast, and preference, and somewhere along the line we've got to get beyond all that to get to
To the core.
to whatever's behind the idea of reality.
Oh my God.
This I decided to make 2 pages of.
Of one big picture.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, Butch. Thank you very much.
There'll be more where this came from.
I'm sure. I'm sure it's a non-stop occurrence in your brain.
Yeah.